che mo fa sera.
And welcome, guys. You should be able to hear me. Hopefully everyone is hearing me. Welcome, guys, to the Talking in Stations after show, by the way. I am McLeod. I'm here to basically guide conversation and generally sort of keep the show going and all of that good stuff. I've got a whole bunch of people here to talk about all the different topics that was also discussed in Talking in Stations, as well as other random topics related to Eve, not related to Eve, related to baking, related to popcorn, you know, anything and everything, really. So I have Busing, Caleb, Carneros, Dirk, Jay McLean, Jeronica, Cagton, Maderal might be here for a little bit. I think he's currently away from his keyboard. Opus, Robbie, and Tiberius. Welcome, everybody.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hello.
So yeah, guys, good to see you all. What kind of wanna just
Everybody's suffering from that. Hey, we just started recording, so now we're just all going to shut up because we've completely forgotten what we're going to say.
Yeah, totally. Like I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tiberius, definitely. But yeah, I mean, you guys like Tiberius, you and Maderal are kind of gearing up to get going on you know, the festivities in MTACO. And in actual fact, what we've got in the background of this right now is CO2's Keepstar in MTECO.
We'll see how long the feed lasts.
Yeah, we'll see how long the feed lasts. So, you know, fingers crossed on that one. We'll see how long I remain in system before getting decloaked randomly and killed. As well. So, you know.
Or Gigax activates the point defense on it and immediately applies damage to several hundred ships and crashes the boat. So.
This is also a very possible. That's a very possible situation too. So, but yeah, we've got a few videos that we can kind of show when we're sort of, you know, going to have a few breaks. Here and there and everywhere. Like, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a fairly lengthy show, which means that like literally no topic is off, you know, off the table for discussion. And you're welcome to go as deep into topics as you possibly want. I'd also like to actually bring some questions from the audience, that kind of thing, into the sort of the conversation. That would be really, really awesome. Especially stuff like that anyone in the actual comms sees and thinks is a really good like question or really good comment. But yeah, MTACO.
I've got something to start us off with.
Oh yeah, totally, man.
I don't know if you've been watching. There's most people are aware of a website called updates.eveonline.com where it talks about the next set of patches coming up. But there was a little subtle change that happened recently that I wanted to point out to people because it affects a lot of things and it's worth giving CCP some kudos for it.
Okay, what is that? I'm curious.
You're now suddenly intrigued. If you jump over to updates.eveonline.com, you'll see it pops in first at where we are. The next patch is December 13th. And on the 13th, there's going to be the Yule Festival, as I call it. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce Yule. What?
Yule.
We'll just exactly call it like that.
Yule.
Like a
All right.
It's
yeah.
Icelandic. It's difficult to pronounce anything usually.
Thanks.
I know.
Yeah.
I studied Icelandic for a year and a half, and
It's still a mystery to you.
yeah, still a mystery. But there's a few other things we'll go into that in a second. What's coming up, and we definitely want to talk about it because people need to know that they're going to have to log in every one of their accounts every day for the days of the festival. But skipping forward for a moment, drilling platforms used to be sort of expected to be coming in the spring, meaning May or June after Eve FanFest. And as you know, around Eve FanFest time, CCP will hold some details and information back so they have some ammunition to use during the Eve FanFest event. They've got things to tell people and reveal. A lot of why people go to Eve FanFest is they want to be there on the spot when new information comes out. I understand that. I've been to Eve FanFest 5 times. It's a lot of fun. But drilling platforms now shows up under fall 2017.
Interesting.
So this is a subtle little change. I tip my hat to CCP for seeing this early in the process that their schedule's not going to be able to promise them to be able to deliver this by June. And so they're setting expectations in advance that this is going to be a fall product. I mean, it's possible they'll get it done in June and change their mind and bring it up sooner. But my guts say that they're being conservative with their planning and their communication, and I think that's excellent. So
it
that
does have a
tells
little
me
bit of a problem, right, with the eValkyrie rollout, that the pipeline keeps getting delayed like that. It seems as if there's a mismatch between the brands now.
Well, as someone who works for a game company that has multiple live games and multiple brands, I understand that. I'm in no position to throw stones. And
not necessarily throw stones, but it's just a little bit sad that they can't benefit from the hype that comes from Valkyrie, right? Because the recent one just shows the building of stations and the building of gates. That would have been awesome to have at the same time that we were potentially going to get gates.
Very cool.
Yeah, and actually, if you haven't seen it, my brother from another mother, General Stargazer, the person that I'm often confused with, and I'm often confused with him, but we are actually two different people.
You're not General Stargazer.
I'm not General Stargazer. Don't start, seriously. Like, what's wrong with you?
This whole time I've been rude.
Oh man, you see, this is the problem I'm having. So, he did a video. He's very much into his lore. He loves all his lore and things like that. And he did a video quite recently because he's very, very much into Valkyrie at the moment. He did a video which takes you on a tour around the new map. And this structure is pretty amazing. It's like 2 Galente Stargates mushed together with all sorts of bits and pieces in there. And there's one of the features that Valkyrie has. It has this scout mode. So you can explore the map, and as you go around the map, you can pick up like little audio files that give you a bit of a story about what's going on at the map. And it's great stuff. And he's recorded the whole thing, and he's taken you all around it. And you, as you're flying around, you're picking up diaries from a person that's building this Stargate. So if you love all your lore type stuff, go check it out. General Stargazer's YouTube, it's on there, and it's really, really good. And it's a beautiful map. It is stunning. I have to give big props to the Valkyrie devs making that map because it looks amazing. It's an ice field floating above a planet with a Stargate, and it's brilliant stuff.
Yeah, and he promised to actually redo the audio so you can actually hear the echoes that are presented in that, so you can hear the whole narrative. And it's very much tying into the Eve lore and the potential of gates for players.
Yeah. That's epic, man.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I know I just built a new computer to be able to do Valkyrie, so that's definitely exciting to hear that there's good stuff in the pipeline for that.
there's so many good arguments to get a PS4 next year, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like it's the lowest way of getting into VR games at the moment.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's the lowest
get
form
entry.
of gaming, console gaming. Yep.
Oh god damn it! I
Wow.
bought a GTX 1070 to be able to play VR on my PC, and now everyone's going to the PS4. Like what?
Don't do it. That just means they're lesser than you. That's okay.
This is true. This is
PC Master Race.
and,
Yeah,
and
you
you know,
definitely say
yeah, exactly.
It's okay to have standards. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't feel like you're bad.
Standards, god damn it.
There you go.
Amen, brother.
At the end of the day, like, PC stuff is quite expensive, and the Oculus headset is quite expensive, and the Vive is even more expensive. But you know, so you're looking at an outlay of at least, I don't know, what, $2,000 for these things, and to get a decent computer to run it if you haven't got an up-to-date computer.
Well,
But they'll come down in
Yeah,
price eventually.
it's already starting. You got to look at like what's happening in the hardware market. Like with the 1060, the 1060 is technically like that's VR ready. It's not going to give you the same bang for your buck that like the 1070 is going to do in VR itself. But if you look at the hardware is already coming down in price, and AMD is poised to come out with a new chipset next year by the same designer who came up with their Athlon XP series, the guy who did the architecture for that, and that's going to be at AMD's price point, and hopefully step up their performance in comparison to Intel chips. So it's coming down, and the hardware's like part of it is trying to make its push to make VR more readily accessible.
I'm just going to take this opportunity to say 1080 Master Race.
Oh, that's.
I'm at 1440.
I wish I had a 1080. Like I was looking through it and just kind of going, oh, can I justify 1080?
Dude, there's nothing you're gonna use the 1080 card on at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's why I went. That's why I went 1070. So.
Yeah, I'd just be happy with a computer that can run like EVE at full graphics in a massive file.
Just trying to plug the fact that the PS4 has not had anything that interested me, and now they're finally rolling out some titles that I would actually be perfectly fine with playing on a platform like that. That does not need PC Master Race, right? Like the Final Fantasy series, like the new Wipeout thing, and then of course things like Valkyrie and getting the whole VR thing.
See, the thing is, I like the card that I bought, the 1070. It's a MSI overclock 1070. I've yet to actually try it out in a full-on massive battle. So, like, I don't know. I'm.
You're still gonna get garbage frame rates, bro. I did it like last week in the MTech thing. You still got to turn off brackets, and you still got to. There's just too much on screen.
I spoke to an EVE dev recently. It was like, what's like the most intensive thing for your computer to be running during those sort of fights? And he was like, audio and brackets. They are the single largest consumers of processing power of your computer. The graphics themselves don't use up that much.
Well,
audio and bracket.
Thankfully, at least on this round, I've got audio switched off, sort of, on both of the clients. So, at least there's that. But I've yet to screw with brackets, so I think that might be something I might have to sort out, like as the fight kind of starts to pick up in MTECO.
Yeah, just turn off all brackets.
The classic sort of battle settings.
Or have a restricted bracket set, so you're not seeing like everything. You're just showing the stuff that's important to.
It's like yes, I do want to see drones.
Oh, no, yes, I would want to see enemy fleet primaring me. Number of ships I've lost because I've turned the brackets off and I don't notice the enemy fleet yellow boxing me, because you kind of have to scroll through the overview to see the second fleet that's a little bit further out primaring you.
The really funny thing is, like, I swear 2 or 3, like maybe probably like 3 years ago, I'm almost certain that at some point I was using a brackets off profile that still showed yellow boxing, but I don't know. Like, I mean, I've been kind of like, I swear to God that did exist at some point. But the thing is, like, I don't know if we can like quickly jump into a CCP please kind of thing, but like, oh, CCP please, if you could make a way for us to have a brackets off profile that still shows like lock-ons, that would just be really, really good.
That would be pretty amazing.
And FYI,
there's a lot more intuitive stuff they could do with the interface to Eve that would make it like really more appealing to just people in general, like especially new people, because a lot of stuff is incredibly unintuitive.
Yeah. Well, they're cracking down on, like, you know, all the non-intuitive kind of stuff, like, and also cracking down on a lot of the legacy code that they used to have. Like, I think that's one of the.
They made huge steps. Like, just look at the what was the overlay, the
tactical overlay.
The tactical overlay. There you go.
Tactical overlay's been going leaps and bounds, man.
I'm not going to take like credit for that, but I totally yelled at Carker like last year at Vegas about like the tactical overlay and how it could be more intuitive for people whose brains work more visually than like textually.
Yeah.
So I'll take some credit.
It is pretty amazing to see that the new tactical overlay, because certainly if you're a carrier pilot, or you're into your solo PvP and things like that, it becomes really, really important, because knowing what enemy ships are doing and having that displayed in a visual manual is just so nice. Like when you're like going into a brawl one-on-one with somebody else, to see the direction and the speed that they're traveling in, so you can manually pilot it without trying to sort of guess it, is such a benefit. Like the whole kiting and double clicking in space, or trying to slingshot people around and all this sort of stuff. It just gives you so much more ability to do it. And when you're like, if you're a carrier pilot or a super pilot, having that overlay is really, really good as well, because you can see the movement of enemy ships. What was it, S-TAC-D, where we fought the CO2 Supercat fleet, NC fought the CO2 Capital Supercat fleet. We were going in and trying to kill the Intosis recons that were flying around. And I was using the tactical overlay to see which direction the test VPOL fleet was flying in, so I could pilot my bombers around them and get to the Intosis ship to blow it up with. And I couldn't have done that. I would never have been able to do that without that tactical overlay at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's showing a wealth of information, and the thing is, it's the good thing about it is it's showing a wealth of information like intelligently. It's not sort of like doubling up or tripling up on information. I mean, I've kind of seen that like in certain places in Eve, where you just see like the same information, but like displayed to you in like multiple ways, and it's just like, well, it's a little bit excessive kind of thing. But the new kind of tactical overlay is really, really good at like making sure that the information is kind of there but intuitive as well, and not like overdone.
Well, like where I was coming at from was people have different brains, and brains process information differently. So from an accessibility standpoint, that's a lot better for bringing in even more people to Eve. So if you have somebody who can actually interpret the information, whereas some of these people are really good at looking at the overview, and they can take that information, their brain can process it and interpret it basically visually in their own head. Well, some people's brains don't work like that. So now you're opening it up to a bunch of people who can get into this now, because now they have this kind of visual representation that their brain can kind of wrap around.
Yeah.
And I also really like how it shows information about active modules and such too. Like I'm sitting right now in a Chronos, just off a Citadel, and I can look and see, okay, what are all my ranges on various ammo types, all that sort of stuff. Before, that was sort of this, if you didn't know them off the top of your head, it just was information that you had to go and actively look for, which detracted from fighting. But now you can just, using the tactical overlay, sort of see what those envelopes are, and it really does help.
Oh, totally. I mean, it was one of the things like I hadn't noticed for the longest time. Is just like when you have the tactical overlay on, like it sounds kind of sort of quite obvious, but when you're trying to teach a fairly newish player like how to light Cyno and where ships are going to be appearing when they actually come into grid, like basically trying to tell them that it's going to be a bubble between sort of 5 and like 10 kilometers, somewhere around about that kind of size. So instructing them to make sure that like that area is kind of clear of obstructions when you're signing someone onto a station. Sometimes that can get lost in translation and stuff, but when you actually have a Cyno on and you have when you have the tactical overlay on, and you like just mouse over the Cyno, it does show that kind of distance, which is really good. Like it's
you don't need a salvager anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I will say that particular edition did not stop me from almost bouncing my carrier off a station in Iridia, which was very harrowing because we were not blue.
Iridia
LSH at the time.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I came super close to bouncing my Chimera full of literally everything I owned off a station. That was very harrowing.
That would have, I'd have been puckering there as well.
Yeah.
Iridia terrifies me. It really does.
Well, surely it shouldn't terrify you as much because of the slightly increased jump range now. It's like it's not as restrictive, is it?
Well, I mean, yeah, like a few of the choke points that you had with capital ships have been kind of alleviated, but there is still, like certain, like Iridia especially, Iridia to Fountain especially, there are still probably only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 systems that you can jump a carrier or a dreadnought or a super cap or a titan from to get into Fountain. There's still those like 3 major choke points into that area, and it's the same with Delve. I think there's probably 2 or 3 choke points maybe, of which you can probably jump out of a couple of systems from to get to, and they watch them like hawks.
Oh yeah, they totally do. Like if it's that kind of restrictive, then yeah, they will definitely take the time to watch them like hawks.
And they're fearsome at doing it as well.
Yeah.
Like they've picked up people that have, gone AFK from me for 6 or 7 months, logged back in, and then hello, there's no tower here anymore, and hello Hick, where did you come from? I'm dead.
Out of nowhere.
Like,
yeah,
literally, and they haven't played for months. And these guys know exactly where they are, and they have a character there ready for when it happens, because it's going to happen. It's crazy.
So just to continue on that point about jump bridges, I'm looking at Garpa right now,
yeah.
And with like regular capital, so dreadnoughts, carriers, faxes, there are a couple systems in Conid that can get into the constellation that like OneSmeb is in and such. But supers can't make the same jump. So with Delve, you do have that. The gap is small enough for a regular capital, but not large enough for a super. So if you're doing supers, you got to go in a different way. But you're also saying the same thing with Fountain, and that is there's that same sort of gap there. It's definitely easier to move around. Like I don't think beforehand you would have been able to hit some of these systems, easily, but now you can.
Which is pretty good.
You get like an extra 2 or 3 options at those choke points than what you would do normally, but which is great. But still, you've only got those 2 or 3 options, and they're still pretty dangerous. But I love it. It still gets the hairs going up on the back of your neck when you're trying to move something that expensive around.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I basically did two stupid carrier moves at various points. I had a Thanatos that I rescued from the middle of cache. I bought it from somebody out there for some reason, threw it into asset safety. It pops up out over in Molden Heath, and so I jumped that thing all the way over it, which involved getting in and out of Minmatar faction warfare space, which was exciting.
Oh,
But yeah, the original trip down from Saranin to Sokt, I came very close to losing everything. It was bad.
I'm still amazed myself that I managed to get 2 carriers out of a wormhole by myself without any support, and then all the way to the other end of the universe. This is when I left Brave and joined NC. I managed to get 2 carriers out via a wormhole because we couldn't jump them through because BL Black Legion controlled those points that had the bridges, and we couldn't go through Cloud Ring either. So I had to take them out through a wormhole, of which someone who was going out to collect newbies from the rookie system raged at me about because I collapsed the wormhole on my way out. And then jumped them all. The 14 jumps, Sino jump, the entire way to Hassateam, where NC was deployed at the time, only to get told the following week we'd go over to Iridia. So I was like, God damn it.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it does.
It's stupid carry heroics until somebody comes up with a better topic of conversation. It sounds like Tiberius just did, but I want to tell the story. At one point during the war, decision was sort of made that, hey, we're going to go up into Venal and we're going to try and go in through the soft underbelly, which the Churchill overtones there were just a little too much. But I decided that I wanted to try and just get some ships up into one of the systems we had a Citadel in, which was just like 2 jumps out of the very southern end of Declan. I figured, okay, well, if I try and make all of these, all these things manually in this trip manually in all these different ships, I'm gonna have a really hard time with it. So, you know what? I'm just gonna try jumping my carrier up there, which involved me sitting in said carrier, cloaked in a MOA SOV system for the most harrowing 40 minutes of my EVE existence until I could finally jump out. Only to be made more harrowing when the time came to move, to start getting ready to get out of Saranin. I had to get this carrier out of Venal, pick up all my ships in this Astrahus, which I couldn't dock at, and then get all the way out. But what happened was there was a fight going on further down the pipe from the Citadel. So all these slice guys kept warping through. So I'd log in the carrier, I'd see, a Saber pop up on D-scan, panic log out, and then realize, oh wait, he's going down the pipe. Log the carrier back in, like 4 caracals jump in, go through it. I do the same thing, and it took me like 2 hours to load that carrier up. So dumb.
Oh, but isn't that sort of stuff is what I mean? It seems like a really bloody mundane thing. To everybody else, oh, you're just moving this thing from point A to point B. Why didn't you just fast travel in a game or something like that? But that's just one of the little quirks of EVE that makes experiencing EVE so much fun. Is the fact that you're doing stuff like that, and you're always kind of worried something is going to go horrifically wrong, and you're possibly going to lose everything in a big fiery ball of fire.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love so much about this game. It's just,
Well, the other kind of thing is that, what you're, a lot of games, they will have that kind of thing, but the stuff that you're moving means almost nothing, right? So it's great that, you have that EVE has this level of consequence.
mm-hmm.
And that brings the whole thing together, moving this kind of stuff with this level of thing, with the the level of work that you've put in order to actually obtain it and have it and and utilize it, is probably the icing on the cake on that one. It makes everything worthwhile.
I think the things worthwhile. What do you guys think of CCP's latest advertising, marketing thing.
And some of them are pretty damn cringeworthy.
In particular, one that springs to mind that was cringeworthy.
Specifically the first one that came out with the guy talking about, oh, I went out and took everything I owned. It's like that one was just like,
oh, Asher. How could you be so mean to Asher?
Oh.
Oh, voice gribbler. You know, he's such a cool dude.
I think the only thing that went kind of against that was like, you know, I mean, I guess it's accessible for people coming into the game. Like, oh yeah, we could probably relate to that a bit, but like, I think there's probably more epic kind of stories than that sort of thing. So I don't know whether they were kind of thinking to themselves like, do we do one which is more accessible for people coming into the game, or do we do one that's more kind of like grandiose, you know?
I think because I think it's old news by now, but I was actually part of the process for people that were chosen to do those videos. And so I have a little bit of insight on the initial brief. I didn't get past like the initial stages, so I didn't know what to do afterwards, and you know what ones they got coming up. But this was like what we're seeing is like the end result of that process, and the interview question was explain Eve in 40 seconds. And
was that what they asked you?
Yeah, explain Eve in 40 seconds. Because you look at these videos and they are about 1 minute and 20 long, each of them. And these people are trying to, and it was the emotional experience of it as opposed to, you know, the epic, grandiose story type thing. It was how does playing the game make you feel? And that was kind of the benefit of it. I kind of derped up because I started talking away about my first major battle. It was the Battle of Asakai, and started wandering around into the politics of it, as I do because I enjoy having a ramble. As if you guys don't know, I do. And you know, and that was basically the brief. It was, you need to do it in 40 seconds because these are meant to be like the sort of YouTube-y type adverts that people see at the beginning of their YouTube videos and things. So you see it's like the 10-second clip with the hook line, and then the rest of it, the other minute of it, is the actual story itself. But they can't do more than that because they have to pay to show those things. So, and they're paid by the link, and it's to get people hooked on as quick as possible. So that's what they're doing basically.
Yeah, I mean, to be absolutely fair to that first video, I don't think it was the story that was super cringy. I just think the edit job was not painting it in its best possible light. I think there would have been I can't tell you what it would have been, but it feels to me like there would have been a better way of presenting that story to make it, I don't know, yeah.
Jane's film one was better though.
Yes, that one was very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Especially that guy's laugh at the end of it. Holy cow. Like, I loved that. That was pretty good. And then, of course, we had Sindel Pellion's one released the other day, which is all about exploring.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. We can do that right now.
I was going to actually cut to one of them potentially.
There you go. You can find the Sindel Pillion one, because I don't think a lot of people have seen that one yet.
That'd be pretty cool to actually cut to. I mean, if people don't want to actually, you know...
I guess we can talk about it, like, let's just watch it and then...
Where's the Sindel Pillion one? Like, if someone could, like, just link me up, it'd be really cool.
Yep, on it.
I can chuck it into the actual stream, which would be really, really cool.
Subscriptions, EVE Online, and then of course the Orbit Around the FC one as well.
Which is great. I enjoyed that.
I love it.
And Rick's was really awesome too with the editing.
There you go. I threw it into the show prep one.
Oh,
Man,
thank you.
I still can't get why Rick's hasn't been snapped up by some marketing company. He's so creative in what he does.
to have his own marketing company.
Ooh.
Yeah,
A very successful one by all means as well.
totally.
Some people have the most rotten luck. Like, I think that's Brix's issue. He just has some rotten luck.
Yeah, some people just do get the bad luck on a regular basis, don't they?
It
Well,
does seem that way.
I think it comes and goes. Like, I mean, to be honest, you know, when you kind of look at it, it does even out. That's the thing with the like, you're kind of breaking into the realm of the law of large numbers here, right? Whereas,
Yeah, totally.
you know, sometimes you may seem like, you know, you get a run of bad luck, but like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you probably, it evens out with, you know, it evens out, like, overall, as it were. So it's all good. Just gonna see.
Fun fact, there is currently 3,000 people watching Leaf streams at the moment.
Ah. Well, I imagine there's a few watching, you know, an MTACO kind of view stream at the moment. In actual fact, we can just quickly, if it's still going, yep, it's still there. I'm going to quickly change the cam to our Judah cam with some other interesting stuff going on. Yeah, there we go. A bunch of, you know, people just hanging out on an undock, as it were.
If I may chime in, currently watching the undock, been seeing a steady bridging out of people. So it's been a steady evac for like the past hour.
Yeah.
In Peco?
Yeah, I currently have my stream running up right now. There's been a levy sitting on the Keepstar, and people have just been bridging out every so often.
Yeah, I'm watching it too.
That's pretty nice. Well, I quickly had a quick look around, and there was a bunch of scorpions on, so I was like, take a quick gander at that. Chuck the video feed over there. Quite nice.
Yeah, the scorpion hole is so good looking.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, like I was running a solo PvP one at one point, and I got into a debate on comms with somebody, like the merits of like a burst jammer versus a targeted jammer, and finally somebody else in the channel goes, "Wait, we're having this argument about a scorpion? Why are you flying that? Because it looks cool."
It's a really nice. I say when I get Widow.
There's a really nice. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, all I was going to say is this is one of the really sad things that I really regret about Eve. I don't get to fly the scorpion hole any way near I should do. It's like, I just never get to use it. I want to use it all the time, but they never give me a doctrine with it.
Oh, yeah, that does suck.
Yeah, even for blobs, I always buy this a Widow, and it just sits. Even just for bridging, it just sits.
Yeah, but you have rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnakes or any of those, they're such a hot looking ship, but yeah.
Snake's really the only one that's used a lot, and it's so disappointing.
Well, the rattlesnake is like an amazing backstop.
It's an amazing ship.
It is the brick wall, effectively. Like if you are an attacking force and you're going in, you want things like rattlesnakes to form the main line of your defense, because they're tough, they hold the front line, they do really good DPS. But if you're an attacking fleet, you never get to use them. And then you have the
solo
mech.
in it. I mean, they're
Well,
pretty
that's
good solo
true.
bow.
Yeah.
Never say never, bro. Right? Don't let your dreams be memes.
Oh wow, you just did that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You just did the Dream Bee memes thing. God damn
And
it.
it totally worked too. Get wrecked.
He did use it in a proper way.
You did. Brutal. Savage. Wrecked.
But I'm pretty snobby, and I won't fly solo ships without MJDs just because I don't know, I just love them. I love the mobility options that they provide. So, people will be like, oh, you want to do cruisers? Oh, no, I'm bringing a battle cruiser. Or, hey, we're doing kitchen sink. I'll show up in a battleship every time. we had one little kitchen sink room we did the other day where everybody else was in frigates and destroyers, and there was one cruiser, and somebody's like, oh, you want to come? I'm like, sure. So I undock a rapid heavy dual extra large ancillary shield booster Raven. Everybody's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is awful.
Have fun keeping up, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, it was really fun. We got all the way. We got out into Aquarius and got really bored. And then this random Sino goes up in the system. We're like, yeah, why not? Let's warp to that. It ended up being this Vexer had lit one on a Citadel, so we killed him. And then he undocks again and just scrams everybody. Somebody guns the Citadel and just kills half of us, including my Scorpion. Or my Raven. Rip.
Right.
Rip your Raven.
The funny thing was I've been scrammed, so I couldn't actively try and run away. And one of the fleet mates comes in and he manages to bump the Vexer that's scramming me off far enough that the scrams no longer apply. I start spooling my MJD, and 2 seconds before it goes off, the Citadel blows me up. I was so pissed.
Oh, I would be so pissed.
I almost got away.
That reminds me of a time where I was having fun. This was now 2 years ago. I was in Brave, and I just got Hicks up to level 4, and I was like, yeah, I can fly an Onyx. Look at it, it's awesome. When I was flying around the Onyx, and the people were like, oh, we're going to go out on a roam. And I was like, yes, I'm bringing the Onyx. I was like, you sure? That's quite expensive for a T1 cruiser roam. I was like, well, yeah, I'm just bringing it anyway, because you might need bubbles and stuff. So I brought that along. And we got into a fight on a gate, and we were like, yep, we can do this. And there I am, I'm bubbling them, and I've got my 100k EHP tank on it.
Nice.
And then the other part of the fleet jumped in. Not the bit that we engaged, the other bit of the fleet that jumped in. And we're like, oh, okay, now we're outnumbered 3-1. This is bad news. So I'm cycling it down. I'm panicking a little bit because back then, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, a Hick was really expensive for me, and I knew this thing wasn't going to be covered under SRP, so I was panicking a little bit. And all I see in the chat window, as my Hick bubble cycles down and my aggression starts cycling down, is this guy who's flying a Simi, a Scythe. That's the T1 Logi mimetology.
T1 mimetology. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, "Don't worry, man. I'll keep you alive." And there he is. He is repping me as this entire bloody fleet is trying to kill me.
Damn.
He's keeping me alive. My shield is just eking down, little bit by little bit. The rest of the fleet escapes. My aggression runs out. I jump through the gate and he dies. And I was like, man, that guy just threw himself on his sword for me.
Did you buy him a new ship?
Of course I did. I bought him 10 new ships. You know?
I was about to say,
Worth the value of a Hick, definitely.
Hell yeah, just a bit.
Gotta love being offered as tribute.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm going to quickly put on the Sindel. Is it Sindel's? My story Sindel. Kind of thing on the stream. So we can have a little bit of a 1.5 minute break. But yeah, hopefully this goes all to plan. Fingers crossed.
I guess we're going to talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, totally.
We'll soon find out.
I don't care what anyone says, it's simply stunning. For me, I just want to go out and see what I can find. It's really easy to just go shoot things or to go mine things, but exploring, it's really a science. It's very dangerous. That's really the only goal I have, is just don't die. But in any regular system, there's just planets, and there's so many different kinds. There's the barren planets, and there's lava planets. It looks like the planet's on fire. Storm planets, there's these spectacular lightning shows that just rumble at different spots. You see things twinkling off in the distance. When you warp to the sun actually, you can see the heat patterns radiating off of it. And the next thing I know, 5 hours have gone by, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and haven't even gotten that far. Everybody's been somewhere, but you can't say that somebody has been everywhere. There is one named planet in wormhole space. I decided it was my God-given duty to go find this thing. It was proving impossible. After trying for a couple of months on my own, I was approached by a group saying, we can help you find this, we roll it all the time. And they fly me out. I found it, and I must have just spent hours just staring at it.
And we're back.
What do you guys think of that?
I thought it was awesome.
I definitely think it highlights that there's lots of stuff to do in EVE aside from shooting people, which, I mean, shooting people is fun, but, you know, there's just so much more you can do. It's, if you have something you want to do in the game, it's probably possible to make it happen in a way that you can't get anywhere else.
That is an interesting question, actually. If CCP turned off the servers tomorrow, what would you guys be doing? I honestly don't know.
I would probably go back to fueling my massive Wargame Red Dragon addiction, which I just spent $10 on buying Yugoslavia and the Finnish as a DLC pack, and I've played one game as the Finns. So I really should, you know, do more with my $10 investment there.
A whole $10, amazing.
Yes, yes.
I must get my money's worth.
Yeah.
If they shut down the servers tomorrow, it would literally be get in the fetal position, try not to cry, and then cry.
Somebody find that image. We gotta put that image up.
I mean, there really isn't any other sci-fi game that even touches this in the meta side and in the in-game side.
There really isn't. That's the kind of funny thing when you go deep, like hot and heavy into EVE for such a long time, you can come back out on the other side, kind of thinking, well, there must be, like, you know, you get this kind of like, oh, there must be some kind of better game out there, you know, in that kind of sense. And in actual fact, you look around and you kind of go, you kind of get, you lose a sort of perspective, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, totally.
And you sort of come out, and you kind of, like, if you spend a little time away from the game, you kind of, you do end up coming back to the game with a lot more respect, a lot more kind of, like, feeling of, actually, this game is pretty deep and pretty awesome, and being able to, like, and CCP as a developer being able to just keep it going and not end up accidentally, you know, tripping over themselves and destroying it in some way, shape, or form is impressive, actually, from a developing kind of perspective.
I think that article that was recently posted about, you know, investors wanting to sell or something like that, I kind of briefly read it, but it goes into there's no other company that would, like, take this game and keep it going, and even listen to players the way that our devs do.
Not at all.
Or strike the balance in between.
Yeah,
And that's what,
Bloomberg.
I mean, that kind of is what makes me sad about a lot of things, because we give them so much grief. I mean, holy cow, we give CCP devs so much grief over everything. You know,
We definitely do.
And then, yeah. And at the end of the day, we do a pretty good job.
But the thing is, it's kind of like, I can kind of understand sort of where they're coming from in it, like where players are coming from in it, because, like, us as players, and especially as player groups, we're so, well, we're constantly looking for that edge, like, over each other. So when it comes down to, you know, the whatever actions the CCP as a developer kind of, you know, end up doing, even even completely accidentally, that ability for player groups to basically latch onto that and use it as a means to sort of, overtake each other. It does that alongside the amount of vested interest and vested work that we've put into all the different things that we have in the game, that just kind of it does seem to spiral it out of control in terms of like the amount of drama that can kind of erupt. But like
over small things.
Yeah, over the smallest of things. But like when you kind of take a bit of a backseat kind of perspective look at it, it's it's actually fairly surprising from just being a game, honestly.
Hey, real quick, going back to whoever was talking about the Scorpion hull and Scorpions and everything, there's one getting waxed on the frickin' Keepstar right now. He accidentally, for some reason, warped up to the Keepstar, and he's getting pummeled right now by Thrashers.
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
Was that the one that was smart?
Micro jump drive out, and he micro jump drive right into the Keepstar, and they're still freaking.
I was wondering what that was for a minute. I thought like, that was probably the one that was being like that. Was he smart bombing? I think it was just off camera.
Yeah, I kind of went up close to it a little bit, and then he just disappeared. I thought they killed him, but he MJD'd right into the Keepstar.
I always love those times when you. I always love those times when you maneuver in some way and realize, after the fact that you put yourself in a massively worse situation than you were before. The last Hyperion that I went out and flying, for those of you who know me, you know that the Hyperion is kind of my thing. I will show up to it. Anything. I was referred to as a more retarded Baltec 1 at one point by an individual in Theta who shall remain unnamed. when I kept showing up to gate camps in the Hyperion.
Mm-hmm.
Private guy just snapped one that he's like, "You're like a more retarded Baltec." And I was like,
"What are you talking about? What do you mean?"
Yeah, but anyway, so I was out, just dicking around with it in Placid, I think, during the war and such. I had it, I staged away from Saturn. I was just having fun, and I see some PL guys in local, and I decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna jump this gate, and then I'll get away. And I jump through the gate, and then there's a PL hick on the other side. I'm like, no. so I evaded the gang only to run smack into a random Hictor in a battleship, and yeah, that went about as well as you think it would.
Oof. Yeah.
Oh no, there's this poor hound that went in to go save him. He's getting his ass handed to him. He's like, I offer myself as tribute.
Don't worry, friend. I will save you. Oh, why won't anyone save me? Save me.
This is gonna turn out to be a good day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a glorious day in whatever fashion, whatever shape it's gonna be. So. I wanted to point out, like when we were talking about the whole kind of that breaking kind of thing about CCP revaluing their company. I don't know whether it's just them like trying to actually more accurately evaluate their the worth of their company, because I know when I was doing my degree, putting together a company plan and stuff like that, you end up going and getting accurate, you want to get as accurate kind of a report on your cost, your expenditures and all of that kind of thing. And one of the things that I had to, that you had to kind of do is sort of figure out where your office space is going to be, how much it's going to be, and stuff like that. And you can't really do that sort of just based on numbers that you pluck out of thin air. So you do have to kind of get in touch with people to, get in touch with, corporate, sort of office space rental companies kind of thing. And they do tend to follow you up as if you genuinely were going to get offer space. So I'm there kind of thinking to myself, like, is that how it's applied, like, in other kind of areas? Like, were they looking to just to sort of more accurately evaluate the company's worth by looking to see, you know, what people would realistically, you know, offer them to actually buy the company? Like, yeah.
I mean, probably. I mean, companies value their companies on quite regularly. Like, it's just one of the things that companies do. Mainly because it looks great on the balance sheet when you're like valuing the company, and you go, yeah, it's worth X amount of money. It's, you know, and it's a nice boost for the shareholders of the company as well to know that their part of the company is worth X amount of money. But the problem I had with that article was, well, it was all very well and good, but the only source it quoted was people in the know.
Well, literally that phrasing, like people in the know.
That we have it under understanding from people in the know, and that was the thing that kind of just.
That sounds like a reach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and you know, and okay, I'm not a professional journalist. I'm just a fake internet space journalist. But having written about Eve for the last 2.5 years, and you know, somewhere in the region of like 380 articles, I kind of like to think I might have learned a few things. And when you sit there and you look at a source and they go, well, and somebody comes to you and goes, oh, well, we have this coup that's going on with this alliance, and you know, and you go, okay, who's your source, and where can you prove this? And they go, well, it's just from people in the know. You kind of go,
yeah.
So I'm honestly kind of thinking it was just a Bloomberg journalist who was like, oh, I have to justify my paycheck this week, so I'm just going to write this article. Oh, look, there's a note in my notebook about this. I heard a rumor, so let's post that down.
Yeah, the rumor must be true, but I'm not going to cite my sources.
Yeah.
It is a person in the know. Himmler, secretly a potato. News at 11.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just.
I mean, someone was saying, like, they were, you know, in terms of like Bloomberg, like it was a fairly slow news day, so chances are they weren't just like reaching quite seriously for something. So
yeah, journalists justifying his page. I mean, I used to do it. I do it for Eve websites all the time. Oh, I need to earn my ISK for today. Or what do I post? Oh, here we go. This will do. You know, it's just something journalists have to do.
I thought it was part of CCP's marketing campaign because the video attached to it was just a giant ad for Eve.
Maybe.
I don't know if that was actually to happen in some other like normal gaming company, like, you know, the EAs or the Blizzards or whatever, would actually take it. I think they would take it, hold it for a couple months, and then they would shut it down because Eve breaks the status quo on everything else. It's a game like no other.
We wouldn't know what to do with it.
I think there was some speculation that what would happen if Disney bought CCP.
Oh Lord.
You'd have like Princess Jamal action or like dolls and stuff.
That would be great.
And then yeah, so it immediately turned from when we were talking about Disney doing it to somebody in channel who may or may not be speaking right now, complaining about what they did to the Star Wars Extended Universe. And then the next person immediately chimed in and was like, hey, what about Eve Legos?
Well, I'll tell you what, the exotic dancers would go away.
Actually, G-Shorts corrects me. It wasn't people in the know. It was according to people with knowledge of the matter.
That's
That's almost exactly the same. I mean, it might be a little bit wordier, but...
I know. But it's like, it tries to sound even more pretentious than it did before.
It does sound a little bit more pretentious.
And Jack, I'm not making pie tonight. I'm probably going to be doing burgers.
Yeah. Well, are you? But the question is, are you going to be doing hipster burgers? I think we need to know that.
I think I've had my hipster burger for the day. Like, seriously.
Well, okay. Tell us about your experience of that, by the way.
What do you mean? My £10?
What constitutes a hipster burger?
Yes, this resident of Portland is very confused. What the hell do you mean by hipster burger?
So I go out. I'm hungover. Like I drank an extraordinarily large amount of beer last night. I go out to this place that's opened up quite nearby, and they have all these like little, like literally what they've done is welded a whole bunch of shipping containers together, painted them all up, and put little like food retailers inside them. So I've gone to this place and I'm like, you know what? I'm really hungover. I could do with a beer and a burger, and or just something really greasy. So I've walked past this thing and I'm like, okay, chicken burgers and beer. And I'm like, that sounds great. Go in there. It's a Korean chicken burger place. Right. So it's not a regular chicken burger, it's a Korean chicken burger. And I'm sitting there and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, what the hell does a Korean chicken burger taste like? What is the difference?
What was the place called again?
Can I say it on stream? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just another name for a chicken, so I imagine it's fine.
Cockfighter, which just sounds even worse.
Oh my god.
So wait. I have to interject here, Tiberius. Are you sure you do not live in Portland? Because this is sounding like the most Portland thing ever.
I know, right? But no, I don't live in Portland.
But that's what hipsters want to be, right? Like half Euro, half their own thing.
Well, I guess so. I don't know, but yeah, I go in there and it's basically just a crispy fried chicken burger without the lettuce and tomato, but some weird sort of Asian vegetables put on top, and that's it. And then they charge you twice the amount of money that you would have to do at a normal burger place.
Yeah, that pretty much sounds like one of the most Portland things ever. And I say that with the greatest respect due for the fantastic amount of food carts and little hole in the wall restaurants we have around here. But that place sounds like you could stick it right in the middle of like East Portland and it would fit right in.
There you go.
That is probably exactly what they were looking for. Like, that is probably their greatest compliment that anybody could have ever said about them.
But yeah, so that was my attempt at getting over the hangover today, and I just feel a million times worse for it. Go figure.
Hey, I know there used to be this food cart. Yeah, there used to be a food cart down by a place where I worked called Big Ass Sandwiches. So you'd go down there and
I know them.
Stuff. Oh yeah, well they've closed unfortunately. The one in Portland closed.
No way. Oh man, I used to follow the Twitter just so I could look at the sandwiches they posted.
Oh god, they're so good. So anyway, you would get your sandwich, and it was like an artisan ciabatta roll. They had some sort of funky name for it because it's Portland, and
of course
piled high with turkey, roast beef, shoestring French fries, smothered in this spicy cheese sauce, and you'd take a bite and you'd feel your arteries begin to just clog. It was so worth it.
But what else are you going to do after you spend 6 hours mining in a Rorqual in the middle of nowhere and drinking beer? Because, well, what else do you do when you're mining? So I regret it in the morning though, holy cow. But it didn't solve any it didn't disillusion me in the fact that the Rorqual is definitely OP at the moment.
Well, I mean, that's an like entirely sort of a whole another massive subject that we can get into in terms of like the whole mining kind of thing. I mean, and whether it's and whether it's actually whether at the moment whether the Rorqual is actually a good thing for the the entirety of Eve or not. Like, the way I kind of see it is like, I think it's potentially probably a good thing, right? And the kind of way that I kind of see that is, yeah, fair enough. I mean, it may crash the market prices, the mineral market prices, but that I mean, to some degree, I don't think that's too. It's more of an enabler, right? The way I kind of see it, it's more of an enabler because it allows many groups to be able to sort of PvP with less, with more reckless abandon. If you kind of get me. Like, you know, you're going to get those T1 ships that are a lot cheaper, you know, end up being a lot cheaper, so people will be more open to kind of throwing it into situations where they, like, you know, previously they may not have. Like, and when I'm talking about, like, people, I'm not typically talking about, like, nullsecers, because nullsecers generally tend to make a lot more risk, so we tend to be, you know, throwing more, like, T2 stuff at each other, and T3 stuff, and capitals, that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, people new to the game, people who may not have the ISK or the skills. So, you know, the way I kind of see it is, you know, the many alpha clones. Yeah, the many alpha clones. Like, you know, getting into their ships, you know, it kind of sucks if, you know, getting a particular cruiser costs quite a bit of money. Whereas if the mineral prices crash somewhat, I'm saying somewhat because, you know, like, I probably wouldn't like to see it go back to in the days when, you know, many of the kind of large, I would say, botting empires, I guess, sort of in the drone lands, were literally like gun mining. But like,
back
maybe
in the day, when they could do,
But like, you know, understandably back in that day, like, you know, T1 ships were really quite cheap in comparison, so you could actually, you know, people, and I think in a kind of sense in that, and at that time there was quite a marked amount of, you know, overall PvP, rather than, you know, the pitch battles that we have, and then, like, you know, a lot more roaming by a lot more groups.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking forward to the day where I can fly a solo carrier cheaper than I can fly a solo marauder. But when we were talking about the Rorquals, I think we also have to bring into that discussion the 10 light year jump range, unkillable for 7 minutes Hictor. And I know that's probably a contentious point to bring up, but
yeah, good point.
Well, still, this is better than the 10-minute unkillable Sino, potentially, that it was going to be. I think
Oh, I'm glad
you're right with the Hictor.
I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Could you imagine that, though? It's like, you know, you would literally just have... the fact they need to stop Rorquals from being able to entosis.
Oh, yeah.
I think they already can't once Panic's activated. I think it breaks the entosis lock. So you can't.
Yeah, it does.
What I think they need to do is basically make it so it sort of does the same thing like a network sensor array does on carriers, where if you have the Panic activated, any E-War modules like, I don't know, heavy warp scramblers, just nuke your cap, so you can't keep running them. You know, I was not part of the event in DW in any way. I was sitting in my office following along and, you know, going, this is not good. But
yeah,
it just seems like that's a very, very powerful application. And yeah, you know, I think there's something to be said for, sure, they're mining a lot right now, they're making tons of money, and maybe that's not the best thing that we need right now. But I think that the Hictor aspect of these things is something CCP isn't looking to address at this time, and that worries me.
I'm sure it gets knocked down.
The thing is, it can't really move that far. It's not invulnerable. Like, it's immobile when panic mode's activated, though, right?
Yes, but if you're siloed in directly on top of something not super maneuverable, like say a Titan, and said Titan is aggressed, he can't refit to an afterburner. And even then, like, an afterburning Titan is going to take quite some time to get out of scram range. And when you get a situation like happened in DW, where, okay, you know, there's a ton of newts on, you know, a ton of energy neutralizers on the field that can just literally strip a shield super of several million EHP in a matter of seconds by turning off its hardeners. That's just, you know, that's very powerful, being able to say, okay, you know, in combination with, we're going to nuke your cap, you are also going to have something that's going to prevent you from, one, warping away, and two, using a micro warp drive to get out of scram range. I think the benefit that the Hictors have the counterplay of you can kill them. Sure, it might not be the easiest thing to do in a Titan, but you can kill Hictors. Whereas with the Panic Broke, you can't kill it.
Yeah,
I'm talking a lot. Somebody else, go ahead.
I think you're very justified in how you're feeling there, man. Like that does seem to be a serious kind of issue.
Sadly, I haven't been on the receiving end of it, so I can't really say anything about it.
Well, that's also one of the classic kind of classic juxtapositions, I guess, of Eve. Is like, you know, it only really becomes a massive problem, you know. It only super affects you if you're actually been on the receiving end of something like that, you know. But
now, to be absolutely fair here, and credit where it's due, you know, coming up with that as a use for the Rorqual was pretty cool. You know, I don't think it's, you know, exploit never was intended to work this way. I don't think it was something that people thought of until it was done, and I think the fact that it was used is pretty cool. Like it was a very unique thing, but I think it's one of those unique things that's so uncounterable that it needs to be addressed in some way.
Well, there's always one guarantee in Eve that the players will figure out a way to break it.
And yeah, that's definitely true. And what other game is going to offer that sort of thing where you can take a ship that is designed to, or a thing that's designed to harvest material and use it instead to be the ultimate way of making sure somebody dies? Like, what other game is that going to exist in?
That is the essence of a sandbox, right?
Yeah, totally.
You know, taking things that were intended for a certain, you know, to be used a certain way and applying it in a different manner that maybe the developers weren't expecting. And I'm fairly certain that chances are they weren't expecting people to be using, you know, Rorquals as, you know, invulnerable Hictors. So yeah.
Right. If I bow out, that's
yes,
because we're getting ready for the Keep Stars.
Well, I was actually going to chuck onto the stream a really cool video that I saw on YouTube the other day, portraying the battles that have been taking place in November last month. So I'm just gonna fire that one up. That will give us here at the moment around about 3 minutes just to chill out before we touch on some other subjects. So yeah.
Well, see you all later. I'm out to go and kill a Keep Star, so thanks for the time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much for
next week. Thanks for being a great host.
No props. We'll be back in approximately 3 minutes after this.
this game, you're not ready for it.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment, and you're seeing intrigue, the espionage, the alliances form, the power that just shifts around, and it's amazing to watch.
Right, this is primary, Julia, secondary. Simple actions can have massive effects.
You can cooperate with people, compete with them, make friendships, deceive them, betray them.
It's amazing to think that it's all just other players.
More players start coming. It just starts this complete cascade of actions, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Here it comes. It is a free-for-all. We'll get locked up and shot instantly. People start dying left, right, and centre. It's just something that you can't get anywhere else. It's just the rush like no other.
All good things happen.
Everybody's on this journey and writing their own stories, and that is probably the simplest way I can describe it.
Things continue to change and evolve. It's awesome. I love it. Part of Eve.
And you're back in the room. Madderall's kind of graced us with his presence today.
I don't know about grace, but I jumped in. And you guys should too, if you guys want to. Discord, Talking in Stations, jump in, hang out with us.
Yeah, man. Like, honestly, if you want to, have a little chat, give your opinion on various different topics and this, that, and the other, then yeah, feel free.
Got something a little interesting right now. It's about this time last Sunday, we had already seen the PLNC super fleet come in and hug the ass house, but that actually doesn't seem to be the case unless they're holding off until a lot closer. I mean, we only have about an hour to go. They were sitting there chilling for almost an hour.
They may be playing. I imagine they're probably playing their cards close to their chest this time.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wonder if here's what I'm curious, if CO2 and Test actually have something of a surprise. I don't know.
You never know.
I mean, this could go anyway.
I think no matter what, it's going to be a super boring tie-dye fest for those of you who do show up for it. So I wish you luck in dealing with watching your guns take 5 minutes to cycle. I do not envy you in any way, shape, or form.
The interesting thing that happened last week was, Darkness dropped a whole bunch of suicide dreads right on the Keepstar, and yeah, that turned out pretty not good for them.
We were wondering if it was an insurance thing.
It quite possibly could have been.
I also think they used to be allies, so maybe they were giving them something, because getting kind of dwindled down from the outskirts isn't very fun for them.
I imagine it wouldn't be, no.
Well, I guess as a topic of discussion here, I'll let Rita introduce herself and such first before I go off.
Okay.
Assuming she wants to talk.
Well, Riva.
Hey.
Hey. There you are.
Figured I'd let you get a word in edgewise before I.
She's the new power editor at Imperium News.
Oh boy.
Oh wait, she's the new editor-in-chief?
No. She is the power editor. She's the one that's really cranking the machine right now.
I'm so sorry for everything you have to do to fix my writing because I'm very terrible at English. Just in general.
Yeah, I've just put the blog out, so I'm.
Yes, the live blog, right?
Yeah, I've just published that, so I've got that opening edit, and then the Opera's stream, and ERJ's stream, and the CSP Twitch stream. So that's for the fight. And then I've got gonna have this channel on for the tournament as well, because I'm putting updates on the tournament in the live blog tonight. So I've got a very busy Saturday ahead of me.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So fine. I'll just quickly chuck the I think it's the live blog on Imperium News just into chat, like there. So that's the live blog of the final MTech OE8 timer. OEE8, not MOE.
Smooth.
Oh damn! Yep.
It's okay.
I will edit that immediately. I was thinking moo at the time.
Ah.
Do we have a Master of Orion fan in the house? Master of Orion fan.
Yay!
So anyway, as I was going to say here, what do you guys think about the usage of Astrohuses and Fortizars as effectively siege camps for what's been going on with the fighting around the Keepstar? Do you think that's working as intended, or is that something that CCP should look at?
I don't think they thought about it.
I don't think they thought about it, but like coming from other games kind of thing, I should have expected it, and it's understandable. Like coming from other games, like specifically from like FPS kind of games, specifically like not many people in Imperium play it that much, and I imagine not that many people from EVE play it that much, but like H1Z1, like when it comes to raiding other people's kind of like, you know, bases, that kind of thing. In H1Z1, what you tend to do is you tend to put down like raid shacks or raid bases kind of thing, in order to base out of that, sort of as an effective way of, you know, sieging their kind of their territory. Especially if it's like a fairly large base, you end up putting actual multiple kind of siege bases around. So like, I can see a lot of similarities from that model into this model. You know, putting down Astra houses and you know, in order to actually siege the MTACO Fortizar. So sorry, Keepstar, not Fortizar.
Well, I mean, it's also got a lot of historical parallels. Everybody, roll your eyes. I'll give you a second to do that. But yeah, a lot of historical parallels too. You know, if you look at how, you know, you'd set up for a siege of like a castle or something like that, you do have those camps that show up around. But I'm wondering more from a like, or I guess it makes total sense from like a tactic standpoint that yes, you want to have some place nearby where you can rebase. But I'm wondering, and this is just kind of the speculation side of things, is the ability for carriers and super carriers to sit on one of those effectively invulnerable? You know, I know they can be shot and things can happen, but is that kind of defeating the purpose of what CCP probably originally intended with how powerful the Keepstar's armaments would be?
I think they're going to nerf the hell out of that, honestly. I don't think they intended for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that they should look at a mechanic where if, let's say you own the system, well, in this case, you know, since NC does own the system, it wouldn't work. But if you own the system, then other people can't tether to you know, an Asher house. I think that'd be fair.
So basically taking away the ability to be safe unless you could dock in that citadel. Because I know there's a mechanic where if you don't own the saw, it does take longer to anchor, so thereby being longer to find. So you're saying that in the event that you don't own the Sovereign system, ships that would not normally be able to dock should not be able to tether?
I think that would work. You know, I would say give a quote unquote tether timer, but then you basically have a ring of these Asher houses. You just keep warping to one to one, so that wouldn't work either. But maybe there's some mechanic there that would make that work, because this is, well, it's awesome to look at right now. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the feed, and it looks great to see these Asher houses surround the Keepstar. It seems a little broken that, you know, PL and NC, you know, warp their supers to these Asher houses. They can sit there until the absolute moment they need in safety, until the absolute moment they need to warp or Sino or whatever they want to do on top of the Keepstar or wherever they're going to deploy to.
Yeah, this is very true, actually. Like, I mean, at the moment, it's very much a case of you know, when you're actually placing down a you know, not keep stuff like Astro houses and stuff like that. It takes longer to anchor an online, right? Whereas you're not actually completely like not able to drop one if it's hostile space. So like that's how it is at the moment, right, guys?
I believe so. It takes longer to anchor
longer
any
to
sort
anchor.
of upwell structure
Mm.
in there. It's like a week timer as opposed to a day or something like that if you don't own the SOV.
As far as I'm concerned, like, I mean, if it's going to take that long, you know, it's if you're in command of the space, then that week-long timer should be enough for you to kill it. But like, I kind of feel like at the moment in MTECO, the space is much more heavily controlled by PL, by NC, rather than by CO2. So, you know, in that kind of situation, I can understand that there's that, you know, the Keepstar has been surrounded by, you know, Astra houses and Fortizars and stuff.
Well, it's like a medieval siege, though, right? I mean, at this point, CO2's lost their space around them. They lost their land around them. They're in their final defensive stance in their castle. They're aka Keepstar here. And so, I mean, it's a lot of parallels to that. So I understand the case of them being camped in, being surrounded, and that should be a valid tactic. But I still don't know if you can have maybe Astra House can only tether so many supers. I don't know. It just seems a little crazy that you can have the entire PL NC fleet on an Astra House and they're all be tethered and all be safe.
Well, I always thought that, like, you know, if you have a weapons timer, you can't be tethered, right?
Well, that's true, but they can come into the fight, you know, Sino onto the Astra houses, and they're invulnerable to any kind of, you know, counter tactics while they're on the Astra house without a weapons timer, and Sinos don't get a weapons timer.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, that's kind of a that would be a similar, like, you know, if we move this from the situation of not having citadels but having POSs with, you know, POS shields, like, I mean, that would be pretty much exactly the same as, you know, parking a super fleet in a POS or in a bunch of POSs, right?
It
you know,
is.
they're
It's
sitting
true.
there. I mean, the only difference is that, like, you know, you can place a you know, particular citadel wherever you want, rather than, you know, being restricted to literally just being on a single moons.
Yeah,
so
I think the big
flexibility there.
Yeah, and I think that kind of betrays where the analogy to the POS stuff sort of falls apart. Is here we have what are effectively safe places on grid with the target in such a way that a carrier or a super carrier can fight with complete safety to the hull, effectively complete safety, and still be outputting its maximum damage. So I almost wonder if a better way of doing this would be to maybe adjust the minimum distance between anchored facilities or anchored, you know, upwell structures or citadels to be longer than fighter control range. So that way, if you want to be controlling your fighters, you have to be not tethered to something, or not able to instantly be tethered.
Here's the other option. Having, you know, watched how this is going, I don't see them putting the distance of all the other little citadels out farther. What I do see them doing is, if you're using your fighters and actively giving damage, they're going to cut your tether. That's what I see them doing.
Well, that's already the case. What I'm getting at here is that all you need to do in the event you start getting shot is call your fighters off.
And you'll have the amount of time that you need as being a super, just, you know, in terms of your hit points and, you know, your kind of support around you to be able to de-aggro and, you know, get tethered back in, I imagine.
Well, I think we're having a symptom of not having the full CCP/Seagull envision of structures in place yet, because there's other structures that are going to be coming into this game. I think they're going to be affecting how we fight on grid and how this is done. It's just we don't have them yet. So I think we have an incomplete picture of what this is really going to look like in hopefully another, you know, 2 years.
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be what, battle platforms or something. Maybe that'll help. Maybe the sensor towers that do something. I mean, there seem to be pieces missing right now from a full-fledged owning your space, living in your space, structure style.
Well, that also comes down to when they, get rid of, your towers and so on. What are you going to do with your jump bridge? And then that's when they're going to probably introduce the player-owned Stargates.
Right.
So it's just it's the release date is kind of weird on that.
Yeah, I mean personally, I do kind of feel very much like there's a large amount of sort of tertiary structures that should be more geared towards enriching sovereignty space, to kind of counteract I guess the more attacker centric or attacker kind of
attacker bias.
Yeah, sort of like attacker bias that the current sovereignty system has at the moment. And I kind of feel like that's what's missing at the moment. We're getting by with the fact that we have citadels, in its various different forms. But if we didn't have citadels, I kind of feel like we'd be in a much more, it's very much more polarized kind of viewpoints. People hating the Sov, people loving the Sov in that kind of sort of sense. So,
Well, let me parrot some old talking points here.
Yeah, go for it.
We've already seen how a lack of citadels affects the way Aegisov or Fozisov or whatever you want to call it plays out. And we saw that happen in the war in the North, which, World War B, Casino War, whatever it is you want to call it. I know I'm probably going to get shot for a few of those.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So you saw how that played out, where the only places that you could stay safe were either passes or stations, which were very easy, relatively, to flip around. And it made it so the Imperium, after a certain point, couldn't effectively live in the space that they were trying to defend in some way. It meant that, we had to do that withdraw to Losec, to Saranin, a place where we could not be harmed in terms of having our main market shut down or our main staging system having people locked out of being able to get there. It really did make that change. So citadels, in a way, are really complementary to the Sov system in a farms and fields versus castles sort of way. The sovereignty system as it exists now really does feel to me like it's meant to be the farms and fields sort of thing. Like, hey, you get bonuses for controlling it, but it's not absolutely essential to control it anymore to live in that space. What is essential is somewhere you live, which is these castles, and which I think a Keepstar is a very appropriate name for the largest one, because it does in fact represent what would be the Eve equivalent of a medieval keep. It's just this giant thing that if you don't get it out of the way, sure, you can bypass it as much as you want, but you leave it too long in your rear and it's going to bite you in the logistics chain.
I think that's a really, really, really good analogy, actually.
But to also talk about, kind of more on the NCPL side of stuff, they're a very organized group. No matter what CCP comes out with structure-wise, they're going to find their way to do what they're doing now, and they've been organized this entire time. I mean, look at the forest houses surrounding the Keepstar. I mean, they know what they're doing and they know how to do a siege really well. And I like that it looks like this. I think this is very appropriate that this is going to happen the way it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like this is using the mechanics in the way that they currently allow for it, and I think it's great that we do see this developing. And me being somebody who really likes history, if you've read some of the stuff I've written for INN about comparing various aspects of Eve to various things within naval history, you'll hopefully understand that this is something I really, really enjoy. I love that we do see, siege camps go down. We do see, okay, we're setting up to be able to maneuver around this fixed defensive structure. It really is bringing to mind the quote, and I forget who exactly said it, that fixed defensive structures are a monument to the ignorance of mankind in military matters. It's something like that. That basically, like, if you're relying on fixed defensive structures as your whole thing, you're really, really bad at your job as a military person. See example Maginot Line, which is, but it's fun. We're seeing it play out that way. I'm just wondering, I guess to put a specific question out here, does it seem like good gameplay mechanics for carriers and supers to be able to apply all this damage while being effectively safe to a certain degree?
Yeah, they're gonna cut it. They're just not gonna cut it at this fight, or there would be massive tears on either side. So they're gonna wait. You're gonna see the patch come out, and it'll happen. They're gonna nerf that.
It will. All right, guys, I gotta head off. I will catch y'all later.
See ya.
Alrighty, man. Thank you very much for taking part, being here.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. See ya.
See ya. I'm gonna quickly cut back to MTAC O very quickly. Some random stuff going on at the moment. Some groups have come onto grid.
Yep. NC have got their there's their Macario fleets out and their Archon fleets, etc. And Horde are still throwing scorpions at stuff, it seems.
Never not throw scorpions at random things. It works so well.
Yeah, and they look so good as well.
They do. Like the Widow, like any of the Kalatoya, and I'm pronouncing that horribly wrong for anybody who actually knows how to say that. Those ships, the ones with the black base paint and red chevrons. So like the Nighthawk, the Stork, Onyx.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones. Those are the only ships in game that I will never skin because the defaults look so good.
Definitely.
I mean, I am a giant space Barbie. I buy skins for everything, but I refuse to do it for those ships because they just look so good.
I think honestly that skin looks the best on the Widow. It's like that makes the Widow. That skin does, that red stripe and black.
I'm just so happy that they made one for the Golem. Not that I can fly a Golem right now.
That's really good.
Actually, my when I started EVE, my dream ship that I always wanted to fly, it wasn't a Titan or anything, it was a Widow. So that's why Reaver is Caldari, and that's why I had pretty much all my skill points in E-War and E-War related things. Because that was what I wanted to end up flying eventually, and now I can fly one, but I never fly one, so I should get one and just go and fly around a bit sometime.
You should totally try and solo Blops drop somebody. It would be really fun to watch.
Yeah, me and one of my friends have talked about going out Blops trolling in Lowsec sometime.
I mean, I've had fun doing stuff like that before, but I've only ever been able to go in a torpedo bomber or like one time in a Stratios. And the one time I went in a Stratios, we dropped on a carrier and that was it. Like we killed the carrier and then we had nothing else for like the next week.
Jesus. Well, I would say.
Yeah, we were bored. So we were talking about, let's get some Blops and go to Lowsec. And when we see people fighting, just jump in and start repping each side. And then just troll around Lowsec like that. So we'll probably do that when we're drunk one evening.
Yeah, just get like some remote rep legions or something.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I'll just land on gates and just start blapping random people in who are already engaged in fights.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good drunk thing to do.
Yeah, no, I have seen a couple of Blops traps go like horribly wrong, which was kind of hilarious to watch. We had a guy in, back in the day in Declan who dropped in via a prospect. He'd drop in like 5 or 6 Stratii and just, go to town on somebody. He did it onto a rattlesnake one time, but he made the mistake of dropping on a PvP rattlesnake that then proceeded to bag all 6 Stratioses.
Ooh.
It was Vic Jefferson and his crew, and Vic was just so fucking pissed about it. He's like, oh, you're stupid bird. Just going off in local, and the whole time this rattlesnake pilot is Russian, so he's not responding to any of it. So it's just this chill Russian dude just kills them all.
Oh, that's amazing.
So then, of course, what do I do the next time I'm out roaming around in Hyperion? I manage to find a Proteus and get dropped on my bluffs game and just die horribly.
Oh,
because I'm really bad at this game.
I think we can all say that we've been in that same kind of situation, or at least a fair amount of the sort of bitter vets, if anything. You know. Well, it does seem as though local in
we are at 3K.
Is over. Is that just past 3K?
Yeah.
So
we just passed 3K.
It's starting to heat up in up here.
And tie-dye keeps going in and out at this point. So
yeah, we are at 68% tie-dye right now. So
that just does not sound pleasant in any way, shape, or form.
When it gets to 10, that's when you want to go hang yourself.
It's yeah, it's fine. 68 is fine. Like yeah, when it gets to 10%, that's when old school lag starts to come in.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been in a couple of those. The first Titan I was on a kill mill for, and then the preceding next 3 was one of those. It was the one where. I think it was Snuff and Imperium guys bridge on top of, I think it was Shadow Cartel and NC. We killed 2 NC Titans, 2 Shadow Cartel ones, but on the third one, I managed to burn out my entire rack of tachyons on my APOC Navy. And so we start firing the fourth mill. Oh no, I can get these kill mills because I lost my light drones at some point. So I'm looking at my empty drone bay. And then I realized that somehow these 3 bouncer ones that I dropped at the very beginning of the fight were still alive. And that was how I got on the 4th nail.
Nice.
So, but I just remember hitting the button and then waiting for 5 minutes real time for them to finally shoot this Titan 2 minutes before it died. I was like, whew, to get on this kill man.
You know, the funniest kind of things, like being in the whole kind of BTAC sort of fight, like I think the most sort of the strangest thing that I ever sort of experienced in BTAC was at one point you kind of realize, you know, I'm not unless you're in a super cap, you're not really gonna affect the fight as such. You know, I tried sort of going around as a dictator, trying to make sure that certain things were bobbled and stuff, but eventually you just end up kind of going, well, things are either gonna die or they're not gonna die. I think at one point I ended up trying to sort of going, I'm going to attempt to at least to try and salvage a Titan Rex just to see what you get out of it. You don't actually get that much out of it, but it was hilarious. The fact that people were dropping these were dropping, what was it, the
mobile tracker
units? The MTUs, and the MTUs would just grab the Titan Rex and fling them at lightning speeds across them across the grid, or just generally across the kind of the area. And it was just hilarious sort of seeing these behemoths of Rex just suddenly spin up and go 1,000 meters a second one way just suddenly. It's really strange.
Yeah, that is definitely entertaining to watch.
Entertaining to watch. Really quite aggravating if you're trying to grab a Titan wreck and salvage it. You just suddenly see your salvage suddenly fly 1,000 meters a second away from you. Like, no, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Same fight where those 4 Titans died. We had one dude who managed to scoop. I want to say it was 4 top meta officer passive armor resistance modules. I forget exactly which ones they were. I think there was an enam in there. So he basically like gets off grid, and then says afterwards, oh yeah, by the way, I stole all, like they killed him, comes up and stole all those mods dropped, and he goes, oh yeah, I got them all. So he made off with like 100 billion in mods from this one Titan kill, and then sold them back to the guy for like 130 bill.
Jesus.
Welcome to Eve.
Welcome to Eve.
I think
that's how you explain even 45 seconds.
Pretty much.
I think he now has the title in game of like, chief representative to the high shekel council or something like that. It's something really funny.
That's pretty awesome, though, I have to say.
Yeah, I just wish I'd been smart enough to do it. That would have been really nice.
There's always been that situation where you kind of hear it and you just kind of go, oh, I wish I was that. I wish I was smart enough for that. I wish,
Yeah, it's like, I know I'm too stupid to have done that, but still. I was just too focused on making sure my guns were cycling correctly on stuff until I burned them out.
Yeah.
I just completely nuked the entire rack. I was very upset.
Ah.
I still have that ship though. It was the only battleship that I brought down with me from Saranin to Delve, because I was like, you know what, I got on 4 Titan kill wheels with this thing. I have to hang on to it.
Definitely. Well, I mean, to be completely honest, like, trying to actually grab loot from Titans, like even in the middle of a super cap kind of brawl and stuff, it's more difficult than it seems.
Yeah, so, especially if there's a lot of tie-dye involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my shit is actually somewhere to talk, because like the fleet is so quiet.
Ah, cool.
I would get bored otherwise.
Well, I mean,
calm before the storm?
It is the calm before the storm. Yeah, most definitely. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, we are actually on stream at the moment, which is kind of fun. Apparently, people are actually liking, listening to us talk, which for me is a minor miracle in and of itself.
Well, I'm glad that we're providing some level of entertaining, some level of talking points. So yeah, all good. But yeah, there is always that issue. I know that Reva's like, working like crazy at the moment. Live blogging and everything.
Yeah, so I'm listening. I'm just not taking part much.
That's cool. But yeah, it's always fairly evident that, like, at the moment it's the kind of the calm before the storm, and people, moving chess pieces around at the moment. So, it's all initially for a fleet member. I actually kind of, I remember this situation sort of like when I used to be involved with a lot of it, like 2 years back, two and a bit years back or so. Like in this kind of situation where, like, as a fleet member, there's not much going on in comms as such. You're there kind of going, oh, it's fairly quite quiet, and we're all kind of, grouped up in certain areas, etc., etc. It's so different in comparison on the command kind of side of the comms.
Yeah, it must be quite horrible to have to filter out all the information.
I don't envy the guys doing it, but like I seriously respect the the people who have the ability to micromanage all of these various different things. I mean, that was one of the things that I really liked about what's his name? A couple of the CFC's Sky Marshals, like, they were exceptionally good at micromanaging a whole bunch of different things. in a kind of, sort of chess piece, sort of situation.
And there's also one thing that really helps if that you have good ECM and Logi commanders. I should say that's like the one thing I hate is when I'm in Logi and it's like you're gonna have to guess what you're doing. But if you can take the load off the fleet commander, it's going pretty smoothly.
Yeah, so I guess as an example to how much that coordination stuff really does pay off, and you have people who know what they're doing. First fleet I ever took out, for those of you who aren't familiar with GSF's kind of fleet structure, there's a level, they're like the entry level skirmish commanders. And, there's, occasionally there'll be a poke or a ping saying, hey, does somebody want to take out a fleet during the, to do a thing? And one of these I was around and I said, sure, I'll go for it. It's like literally my first time. So if somebody more experienced comes up, feel free to slot them in, but nobody else stepped up. So I get thrust into the middle of a strat op. This was beginning of this year. I get thrust in the middle of a strat op as a brand spanking new FC. So I not only have, I'm not only trying to manage all the stuff, get everything around, but I'm also hearing all the command comms for the first time. And there were several fleets out, several of which had, one of which had big toys in it. And so I'm like trying to filter all this stuff, and I did a really bad job of it, and every single one of the guys who came with me just died in a ball of fire, which had more to do with how terrible I was at combat probing at the time, which I haven't gotten much better. But it was just like everybody died, and finally I was just like, okay, next time I'm not going to volunteer for one of these, because that was a little much.
Well, combat probing in a large engagement, like a big engagement, I'm saying MTACO as a big engagement is like the it is leaves a lot to be decided. But like, in any kind of fairly sizable engagement, like combat probing is actually a lot more difficult than combat probing on, say, for example, just a roam, or if you're going out hunting, ratters and this, that, and the other. Like, it becomes a lot more about making sure that you've actually set up your filter lists a lot more. And I think that's one of the things when I watch like how-to videos on probing. So many videos like that, like they completely either don't even mention it or like gloss over it so quickly, and it's like a critical thing, And
I mean some of it is just like, when you're in a pre-positioned fight, you just got to get your probes initially set up on grid. Like that in that particular instance was what I was having a hard time doing, was getting I didn't preset my probes on grid, partially because I'd been sent off as a picket somewhere and half my guys died because I didn't quite comprehend the run away, you're about to get nuked by a bunch of Cerberuses thing that shot at me. So half my guys died to a bunch of Serbs on a gate because I forgot to ward this off. But part of it was just that I was trying to set it all up, and then the same Serbs came and killed everybody else. So in other words, the TLDR here is Jackdaws are really, really bad against Cerberuses. Don't use Jackdaws to fight Cerbers. It just doesn't go well.
You kind of think, they're comparable. We can kind of. I imagine the thought process was we could probably speed tank them, right?
No, the thought process was, okay, I need to get in and I need to tackle some stuff for main fleet to kill. Wait, why am I tackled? What's going on?
Oh, bugger.
That was kind of the process there. I was also on a really small display at the time, so my probe scanner window was covering a lot of stuff, and I only realized, as I'm tackled, that they just dropped like 20 Serbs right on top of me. Oops.
Yeah. And 20 Serbs, actually do output a fair amount of DPS.
Yeah.
Oh man! So we're kind of, I think, on the stream at the moment. We're just we're looking at, I think it's NC. No, it's PLs. PLs.
Typhoons. It's all
PLs Typhoons. Yeah. Looking pretty.
MCR,
very pretty.
MC are also down with typhoons at the moment.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of typhoons. But then again, when you go through the overview, like, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of typhoons. There's a lot of everything. There's actually a fair amount of everything. You know, there's a fair amount of scorpions.
Yeah, CCP have just said that the population in the system is already in the top 10 ever. So, yes, it's going to be quite big.
3.7k at the moment, 3,700. And I don't think we've yet
22% tie-dye.
Meanwhile, the system I'm in, with 2 of my pilots, has 5 people in it, and I'm 2 of them.
Did anybody catch the post yesterday of a guy who posted Beaker and what the CCP service is going to look like? It's going to burn down. Everything's going to be on fire. It was comical.
I was going to say, it's probably got to do with some kind of fire / things burning.
Yeah, I'll see if I can locate it. It was actually, I couldn't stop laughing. I had to keep watching it over and over.
Okay, I'm going to drop out because I've got to do the live blog.
Oh, yeah, totally.
See ya.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, man. Take care. Something.
I'm already at 12 FPS, my god.
I went 7. But then again, I'm 7. I'm at 7, and I'm on like high, so you know.
Yeah, I already got potato mode.
So
there's like 500 corpse on grid.
I'm literally on 1080p with everything on high, so yeah, and everything except the drone models. So I'm surprised I'm getting what I'm getting at the moment.
Speaking of servers, I just threw into links. Probably one of the most applicable clips for what's happening at the Tranquility server site right now.
Oh yeah. Is that the? Oh, where's the links? Hang on.
Man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
I love that. I love that clip. I love that clip.
It's so good, and I can tell you as someone who works in IT that a lot of the stuff in there is 100% accurate.
I love the bit after that where they've kind of disguised it, and what's his face comes in. Renham comes in, and he's like, "Love the screensaver."
I just really like the one, like it when the sun takes over. He comes in, "You computer man, fix my pats." just deliver that line with no context anywhere, and it's great.
It's beautiful. I do like that bit where he's just kind of go, "Oh, why did that happen?" And he looks like made in the UK. Oh, okay, yeah, that's why.
Yep.
Oh, we're about to hit 4K.
Ooh.
Another 100.
What operating system is it running? Vista. We're going to die.
We're going to die. We're going to die, Roy. We're going to die. Oh, that's so good.
Such a good.
Oh,
for those of you who don't know the show, for those of you who don't know the show, it's the IT Crowd. It's up on Netflix, British comedy show about basically working in tech support. It is pretty funny.
I would high five you right now because the amount of times that I've heard people say, "Oh, the IT Crowd," it's like it's not the IT Crowd, it's the IT Crowd.
Well, I legit work help desk, so
I
just said
know.
legit in public conversation.
Yeah,
I really need to. I also coach swimming, and my group is like 4th through 6th grade, so 9 to 12 approximately in age. So yeah.
Ah, okay.
Which is always fun, because you still get those like trendles of like, oh, they're little kids, they're amazing and such, but you start creeping up towards the teenager eye roll thing every time you say something.
Yeah.
It's a fun mix.
Although I'd imagine, like, I mean, how long have you been doing that?
A little over 3 years.
Oh, okay. Because I do distinctly get the impression that, like, kids these days are a hell of a lot more tech savvy than, than previous generations. I was just kind of wondering whether you've actually noticed that in the 2-3 years that you've been doing it, or whether, like, it's been a little bit less noticeable.
I mean, I'm young enough that most of my time at it's swimming, so coach swimming. Most of my time at swim meets as a kid was playing like Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Red, kind of that generation of games on Game Boy. So I'll still go to I'll go to a meet and I'll look over and the kids are sitting there, they're doing something on their phones. Like it's no different than when I was sitting there playing Pokemon with my friends.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Which is definitely kind of fun because we have meets at a lot of the same pools that I swam at. So we just had one last weekend, and the kids were sitting like the same spot that I sat when I was their age and such, and they're sitting there playing games on their phone. It's like this is giving me flashbacks to childhood right now.
Was this how I was like?
Oh yeah, there have been a couple times where it's been, this is I totally need to go apologize to somebody now because I see how much of a little brat I was being.
You have those moments in life where you just kind of go, oh yeah, okay. Actually, thinking back, yeah, I was a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, did have one though. Not necessarily that I was being an asshole or anything, but one of the kids I'm coaching now is a son of one of my old coaches. So he gets up for a race and just goes through it, just trying to power through, just moving his arms as fast as he can, going nowhere. And his dad comes up to me afterwards, just goes, "So, that remind you of anybody?" I'm like, yes, it does, because that's pretty much exactly me at that same age.
Amazing.
It was just really funny to have that conversation with one of my old coaches about his kid that I am currently coaching. It was just one of those weird little things.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to give us a little bit of a break, considering that the MTACO kind of is progressing quite significantly. We're going to take a little bit of a break, just to get a little bit of perspective on what's been happening in MTACO. If at all anybody out there in the audience is kind of unsure as to why everybody is piling into the system, we're gonna play a little video and get a little bit of perspective, a little bit of context.
Yes, rather than listening to me talk about my work.
Yep.
This next I expect that. We'll toast it. It's not my album, but.
You guys broadcasting for Shields are more than 150 kilometers.
No, it hits that. Still shooting type of guys.
Yeah, I see a lot of. Guys, reinforcement fleets are going out. They're being pinged.
He's catching breath, so. Guys, just hit
Everyone
Leo.
is up here to select orbit on Cloud Legend, 10 kilometers right now. Here's some command burst now. Here's some command burst now. Okay, stand by.
20 minutes. One more cycle, one swing, and he should be dead.
Alright, Sting's dead. He's gone.
Oh, and we're dead.
We're dead.
Oh, shit. Oh, I told you, that's an ultimate mistake. Oh, yeah.
And we are back. Hope you guys liked that little bit of context. We've got some technical difficulties at the moment with the cam, but I'm sorting them out. At the moment there's a jitter cam at the moment, but I will bring you back to MTAC-0 in a moment when I can actually you know, get more than 2 FPS. And it does look like activity is going down. So let's quickly jump back over to the MTAC-0. I'll just sort that out right now.
Well, Jen, since it's actually starting to kind of pop off a little bit, I'm going to hop back into my stream. Thanks a lot. Yeah, feel free to use it if you want. So we'll be playing some good tunes and talking some good things.
That sounds great,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Sounds great. Sounds definitely great. Right. And some interesting activity with bubbles going up and fleets getting set up. Yeah. So, right. Who's here to have a chat? Matterall is Robbie and Anthema. Right, cool. We've got about 15 minutes before the coverage of the Imperium Championship starts up, while the MTAC-0 fight starts to get, you know, getting sped up, as it were. I'm going to quickly link, although I imagine a lot of people are very much interested in the MTAC-0 kind of fight at the moment. I'm going to quickly link the Imperium News Network article about the Imperium tournament, which will be coming up in about 15 minutes. So you guys know what's going on with that. There we are in chat. So yeah, it's literally going to be the first Imperium tournament. It's the first esports kind of tournament that the Imperium News Network's kind of hosting, and hopefully it's going to go fairly well. Yeah. It's just one of the things that I kind of thought was sort of unfortunate was the fact that it was also being, you know, it's being done almost on the same weekend as the finals of the EVNT kind of championship, which is very much unfortunate. But like, you know, these things happen, you know. But like in terms of the details, as you could probably read down there on the actual article, we have a total of like nine squads. I mean, technically I don't think they were actually meant to be Imperium only. Although there is a fair amount of Imperium, like I would imagine probably Imperium groups in there. I don't know whether... Does anybody know whether there's actually non-Imperium and like actual fully non-Imperium kind of squads?
I don't think so.
As far as I know, you could apply to be, you could apply and be, create a squad out of non-Imperium kind of non-Imperium players, like very much so. So, as to, I don't know, maybe people just kind of saw it as it's Imperium, so it's going to be just Imperium kind of stuff, but.
I don't think they're concerned with what we're doing right now in Emtaco either. So, well, it's fine enough.
I mean, maybe that's the other thing actually as well. Like, a lot of people are probably looking at it and kind of going, well, we want to be around in the MTACO kind of fight going on. So,
I even talked to some people who were like in the that would be the western regions. I mean, they didn't care about MTACO that much. They had ops and stuff. They have stuff to do, and it seems like it's just local. Even though it's going to be a huge fight, it's still going to be local.
Well, I mean, any kind of situation is local in some way, shape, or form. But it's.
Are we doing philosophy now?
I don't think we're doing philosophy. No, we're just like I just kind of thought, like, bearing in mind that 15 minutes in sort of around about 15 minutes time, we're going to be ending this and cutting over to the Imperium tournaments sort of coverage. That we should at least cover a little bit about the Imperium tournament before that all kind of gets going. But at the moment, in terms of on-screen entertainment, it's very much MO at the moment. The MO is MTACO.
Well, I could say that it's a luxury for all you young ones, because back in my day, you didn't have the luxury of even video to swap between, but now you can actually follow lots of streams and lots of content and read many news articles.
That is true, but the question is there that there might be a level of oversaturation?
Well, of course, now you're UK and I'm DK, but in America, it's pretty normal to have 100 channels to choose from all the time, right?
Yeah, it's something I always get baffled. Like when I get to US or Canada, it's like, how is it even happening, right?
This is very true.
And when it comes to your comment earlier about the fact that the Imperium tournament is a little bit Imperium-centric, well, you could really say something similar about the non-Imperium, and then you get into the whole Gargoons thing. And it's also the first actual tournament, right? So in the whole planning and stuff, it's logical that maybe the outreach to the outside people were not as easy. And since they are all in the Event T tournament, it's pretty difficult to get non-Imperium members to be part of the tournament, right?
That is true. I imagine it's going to be the acid. I imagine this initial tournament's going to be a bit of a, well, not really an acid test, but kind of like an initial state of intent, I guess, to show that Imperium News Network is I mean, we're looking to be kind of more quality over quantity, I guess, but coverage.
Yeah, and we're bad at Eve anyway, so
yeah. So it's gonna be hilarious, if anything, as to how bad the actual fights are gonna be.
I tried to suggest to the guys on Event T that we could actually end both tournaments with just throwing all of the members into the same arena and just let them brawl it out.
Well, like a final battle royale kind of thing.
Exactly, an Armageddon event in the end. So everyone from one tournament and everyone from the other tournament are just thrown in there with whatever shit they're in right now, because they're on the same test server, right? They're all in the Thunderdome.
Yeah. You know what? considering we were talking about like we're talking about it in sort of like, you know, this group, that group kind of thing, even in terms of like tournaments, right? Like the sort of like from an, like if you just take esports and sort of compare that kind of thing to normal sports, like there was sort of like I kind of thought that there was a little bit of a parallel to that, like in, say, wrestling, like American wrestling. Like, you know, you'd have various different like channels, I guess, of sports, of like wrestling sports. Like you'd have like, I mean, even the WWE kind of stuff. You'd have like Raw, and you'd have like, you know, SmackDown and stuff like that. Yeah, eventually we would need to, like, because it is sports and esports. Coverage of sports and coverage of esports are kind of quite similar, even though that the content is different, right? So
yeah, and what was the camels?
Sorry.
Do you remember the group from the tournament that got banned for? Yeah, Camel Empire got temp banned for trying to fix matches and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny, right? Because CCP should really have had a hands-off approach to that and say, well, you might get banned from participating in tournaments in the future, at least CCP tournaments, and you will get your prizes confiscated and stuff like that. But they shouldn't have been banned from the game, because if you look at it from a meta perspective, that's just game content, right? Rigging and cheating and spying, that's all part of the whole sports phenomenon in real life. Why shouldn't it be part of EVE?
Oh, I get that, yeah. I definitely see where you're coming from there. What I thought would be quite interesting, quite handy, and sort of an interesting thing to sort of be part of. Oh, damn! We just saw the first shots fired. People can see this.
It's on.
It is on.
I think it's important to talk about things like we are getting more and more events like this, right? Esports like events run by players and all that. So we're going to have to start talking about things in a similar way that we do sports in real life. So we will have like different cups, and the World Cup would be the CCP run one, right?
Yeah.
I was joking with a partner the other night that we need to do some sort of dream team.
That would be fairly cool.
And then take on the CCP devs, a bit like they did on EVNT, where CCP actually wiped the floor with the players.
Yeah, I was talking to Tib about that earlier, and he was laughing about it and about the fact that you know, when he heard about it, like, he just had to face palm.
Yeah, so we're putting I'm putting Tibbs on my dream team with Suleiman, the hero pilot from Tuskers. He was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, it's going down in MO now. The Cube starts firing its super awesome Doomsday. The chaining Doomsday. It's already fired.
Then we'll see if we can get Boat and Savox to do the halftime break entertainment.
Yeah, most definitely.
I'm looking forward to actually see Boat's team on the tournament.
Boat, whatever happens, either Boat's group is probably going to be the most entertaining in some way. Like, I don't know what it is about Boat, but like, I mean, so long as like there isn't something particular about the way that Boat kind of entertains that kind of grates on you, like, he is very entertaining.
And I'm hoping that he actually that they lose, so he gets to be a commenter instead, and then he can sit around and sulk and bitch about the other teams. Classic armchair football guy.
Oh yeah.
They're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, I should probably get heading out. It has been a pleasure, guys. As much as I would love to be here next week, I will be on a pool deck. So I will catch you all around as I see you. Been great fun. Enjoy the fights and such today.
Later, Robbie.
We will. Yeah, thank you very much for coming along, Robbie.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't quite sort of get. I don't think I really kind of got my point across in terms of like how sort of the esports kind of thing with sort of event kind of championships and the Imperium Championship and this that and the other, and how that kind of correlates to sort of wrestling coverage, like esport, like sports coverage and stuff. But like in sort of like especially in sort of like the WWE kind of thing, you have various different kind of almost sort of channels for this sort of thing. Like you'd have like Raw, like WWE Raw, which would be like a weekly-ish sort of like coverage of wrestling, and then you'd have like sort of other versions of that for different things. Then you'd have these like those sorts of like you'd have like a combined esports event where both kind of groups and sort of players from these different things kind of collide. And
that's why I compared it to the World Cup, right? And the European Cup and the UEFA and all that stuff. We need some sort of organizational thing where we collaborate and where there's representatives from each group. But when you're talking about wrestling, it's a bit funny because I watched wrestling back in the day when there was only like one, so I can't really relate to the whole multiple thing. There was only WWF and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I mean, when WWF kind of like became WWE, and they sort of, I imagine there were some various different people there who'd kind of brainstormed out. We can make this a lot larger than it is at the moment.
It's what I was thinking of actually naming the Boat and Wild suggested show, the Bushwhackers, if you remember those guys. They were fucking hilarious. I loved watching those two guys. They were crazy.
That'd be pretty funny, actually.
I think we're about to get booted.
Yes, we are about to get booted, but I'd like to say thank you very much for anybody who has appeared on the show. I'd like to thank Caleb for coming on, for Matterall for being so awesome to let me host the after show, even though it's a massively extended after show, and for everybody who's been hanging out with us and sort of chatting away, and any of the followers, subscribers, and that kind of thing. So I'd like to say thank you very much. I hope you guys all have a lot of fun in MTACO or in the championship or whatever you're doing. But stick
and follow the live blog.
Definitely follow the live blog. Stick around here if you want to watch coverage of the Imperium tournament. I'm sure there'll be other coverage as well on the Imperium News Network website about MTACO. But yeah, all in all, have a great Saturday and a good rest of the weekend.
mo kina semnol ka ke mo fa seda.